At Justin LeBar here, joined with at Josh Eisenberg 4. It is Chair Shot Reality Wrestling Inc. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a comment, share, tell a friend, spread the reality. Josh, this past week, coming off of NXT and Money in the Bank, we had Raw and SmackDown, and there were some notable things to take away. But I ask you, what was a bigger surprise? We had on Monday, what was a surprise, certainly not expected, Intercontinental title change of Seth Rollins losing to Dolph Ziggler. Ziggler, I think, becoming, the IC champion for the 6th time in his WWE career, but then not to be shortchanged and overshadowed by Tuesday when we have a gauntlet match to decide who's going to be the next #1 contender for AJ Styles. And fitting on Rusev Day, Rusev becomes #1 contender to take on AJ Styles for the WWE Championship here in Pittsburgh at Extreme Rules. So I ask you, what is more surprising, Ziggler winning the IC title or Rusev getting the push to face the champion?
That's a flip of the coin for me, Justin, because I think both came out of left field. Looking at how hot Seth Rollins has been, mowing through pretty much everybody on the Raw roster, and getting great matches every single Monday night, and another great match against Elias, winning that Chicago crowd over, which isn't the easiest thing to do. I'm going to slightly go ahead and say Rusev actually was the bigger surprise for me. As much as Dolph Ziggler winning the Intercontinental Championship was a surprise, I think people know that Seth Rollins is primed and due and is ready for more than the Intercontinental Championship. He had it for a couple of months. He had a couple of great matches, and that's what you expect from a guy like Seth Rollins. But Rusev, you go on to SmackDown and you see this gauntlet match, and he probably was the last guy that I thought would get a championship match. You had guys like Samoa Joe and The Miz, two really great heels that would fit perfectly right now in a feud with AJ Styles, but they go with Rusev. And I credit Rusev for sticking it out. And I mean this because there was reports months ago that Rusev was unhappy, justifiably so. He's one of the most over guys. He's not being utilized on television. He's losing fatal four-way matches at WrestleMania. He's not getting a chance, to compete for United States Championship matches, but Randy Orton was. So that was the bigger surprise for me, and it's a pleasant surprise because in June, July, and heading into SummerSlam and the pay-per-views before SummerSlam, you see that they take chances. I mean, hell, look at guys like Jinder Mahal in April and May of last year. They took a chance with him. They gave him an opportunity. Rusev has been consistently the most over guy, and whether it's a stupid gimmick, and it's not a stupid gimmick, but whether it's a gimmick like Rusev Day or Aiden English singing for him, he finally got himself over to a point where people don't see him as a super villain because he hates America. And that's hard to do with a lot of these guys. Look at guys who have failed like Vladimir Kozlov, the Great Khali. All of these guys that come in that are not from the United States, that are not from North America, have a hard time to winning the crowd over. Rusev has done that. And Rusev has done that by being simple and just being entertaining. And that's something that I was pleasantly surprised to see him getting an opportunity. I'll be at Extreme Rules. You'll be at Extreme Rules. It's going to be fun to see how they actually go through with this match.
You see, I should have days named after me, and you have a beautiful musical theater singing voice. I think that you should start introducing me wherever I go. You can pull it off.
I'm a little under the weather right now, but I can totally do It's LeBar Day. There you go.
It's got a ring to it. Rusev's popularity is climbing, so I got to go opposite. I got to say that Dolph Ziggler winning the IC title was the bigger surprise. A couple things. First off, you have Dolph Ziggler paired now with Drew McIntyre, so you figure, okay, if anybody's going to be getting title wins right now out of this tandem, it's going to be Drew McIntyre. He's the guy that seems like they're building more to the future. It seems like he's got more days ahead of him of relevancy than what Dolph Ziggler does. At least that's what we thought prior to Monday. Also, a night earlier, you have Dolph Ziggler beating Seth Rollins for the title, and a night earlier you have Seth Rollins up against Elias, and I think a lot of people would have thought, okay, maybe Elias takes it, given the great momentum Elias has had. So the fact that Seth Rollins beats Elias at Money in the Bank, and then he has this match, an open challenge essentially the next night. If it's not Elias that answers the open challenge, you're not thinking anybody's going to be beating Seth Rollins on that random Monday night open challenge. So I really got to say, Rollins dropping it on Monday night to Dolph Ziggler 24 hours after beating one of WWE's fastest rising heels. Or maybe Elias is becoming a babyface. I don't know. But regardless, that's a huge shock to me.
Well, let me ask you this, and I know it's a shock probably because Ziggler's been there, done that. That's one of the big reasons is why does he need another Intercontinental Championship reign? Who would you have picked to potentially beat outside of Elias? Because I think both of us thought that Elias had an opportunity to win the Intercontinental Championship. So Elias loses on Sunday. Instead of Dolph Ziggler, who do you put in that situation then? That beats Seth Rollins. You think it's Drew?
Drew McIntyre. I mean, if I'm going to try to find somebody to put a rocket on in the mid card, who hasn't had that rocket, at least not any time recently, Drew McIntyre, I could certainly go with, and I could go with it, especially having a little bit of Dolph Ziggler chicanery, so that way it doesn't hurt Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins can move on. But yeah, outside of Elias, maybe a Drew McIntyre, yeah.
Well, so the only thing that I would have to rebuttal that is we've seen Drew McIntyre as Intercontinental Champion. I know we've seen Ziggler, but when Drew McIntyre was Intercontinental Champion years ago, he plateaued there. That was it for Drew. So if I put the Intercontinental Championship on Drew McIntyre, I fear that that's all he's going to get for a very long time. When, I mean, realistically, you see a guy like Drew McIntyre, he looks like he could beat up Brock Lesnar, and there's not many people in WWE that has that. Even Roman Reigns, who's obviously a big, jack, physically fit guy, he still looks very small compared to Brock Lesnar. So, if time comes, and it might not happen because of Brock Lesnar's contract, if time comes, it's going to be it's going to be Brock Lesnar losing to either Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins. We get that. But Drew McIntyre getting the Intercontinental Championship plateaus him in that spot, and it doesn't make him go anywhere else in my mind.
Not necessarily just Reigns or Rollins. Let's not forget about Braun with the Money in the Bank, the Monster in the Bank. But
I mean, we would love Monster in the Bank, Justin. We've been talking about that for a year.
It's still in the works. I
haven't heard of Braun recently. Can you give me a Braun? Yeah, it's good. You've gotten old in your age.
My age. My age. Well, we are in the age of women for WWE right now. I mean, SmackDown, the first half hour occupied by women's storylines, Ronda Rousey, a lot of things to talk about with the women. We'll talk about that in the next video in the playlist. The state of the women's division right now in WWE. Don't want to miss that talk.